Hi everyone. We're going to do get equations that with letters r and theta that represent polar coordinates, and we're going to write each equations using rectangular coordinates like with x and y. We already did the other way in a previous video, which was way easier. This is going to be a lot harder. You have to know how to complete the square and use quite a few algebra skills, so let's get started. When you look at this first equation, there's not much you can do. All right, we don't have an r, we only have r squared and all this. So what I'm going to do to help us out here is I'm going to multiply each side of the equation by r. And when I do that, I get r squared equals r cosine of theta. Now when I write r squared, I get x squared plus y squared equals x. And if you notice, if you watch the other video, we had this one, and we had to convert it to this, which was pretty easy. But this is actually a circle, and so what we're going to do now is actually make it fit into the circle, the standard form of a circle. So I'm going to move the x over, and we're going to complete the square here. And so this is 0 over here. So I'm going to put another box. So half of 1 is 1/2, and you square it, you get 1/4. So I'm going to put 1/4 on each side here. And then I have this perfect square trinomial, which is x minus 1/2 of 1 is 1/2. So 1/2 squared plus y squared equals 1/4. And that is your equation. This is a circle with the center at 1/2, comma 0, and your radius is 1/2. Because you take the square root, this equals r squared. This is after you've already done conics. Okay, so let's continue on. We have another one that has, the next one is going to be r equals sine of theta plus 1. Again, there's not much I can do with this, so what I'm going to do is multiply each term by r. You get r squared equals r sine of theta plus 1. And now I can move everything over, or I can actually start replacing. So this is x squared plus y squared equals y plus 1. So after I have this, oh, I forgot to multiply this by r. So anyway, this is y plus r is actually square root of x squared plus y squared. So I'm going to go ahead and write that here. X squared plus y squared. Now you can see where these are a little more difficult. So now what I'm going to do is, there's not really much I can do with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave the answer like that. Alright, there's not really much you can do with that. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now the next one we have is r squared equals cosine of theta. So again, there's not much I can do with this cosine here. So I'm going to multiply everything through by r, and I get r cubed equals r cosine of theta. Now, for me to get an r squared here, I want to make an r squared. So if I make this r squared, what would I have to put here to make it look like this? So basically, I have r squared, and I want this to look like r cubed. And what you would put is, you would make this right here 3/2. Because when you use the product property and you multiply this out, you get r squared times 3/2. The 2's would cancel and you just get r. And that's what I'm going to do. So I have to put 3/2 here equals r cosine of theta. Because I'm trying to rewrite these in terms of r and x. So basically, now I know r squared is x squared plus y squared, and I have the 3/2 equals x. And so all I'm going to do now is move this over. Minus x equals 0. And there's not much I can do that with this at this point. So you can leave it. And this is how I would leave it. Some of you all might be tempted to do this. You could do the square root of, because this is your root, plus y squared. Oops. Why did I do that? And then put the cube here, and then subtract the x equals 0. Either one is fine. I personally like it this way. All right, the next one we're going to do is here. We're going to do r equals sine of theta minus cosine of theta. Again, what I'm going to do is multiply through everything by r. So I get r squared equals r sine of theta minus r cosine of theta. And then at this point, it looks really easy. You're going to get x squared plus y squared equals y plus x. But what I'm going to do is rewrite all this and move everything over and complete the square. So we have x squared minus x. And I'm going to put a little box for my squares. Plus y squared minus y equals 0. Then we have the two boxes or squares we have to add. So when you complete the square, there's a 1. You're going to put 1/4 here, 1/4 here. So put 1/4 here and 1/4 here. So now I'm going to make this x squared, or x minus half of 1 is 1/2, plus y minus 1/2, and 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 1/2. And basically what we have here is a circle with the center at 1/2, comma 1/2, and our radius equals square root of 1/2, which is a square root of 2 over 2. Not that you need to know that. You don't really need to know that. We're just trying to write this with rectangular coordinates. Okay. Next one we have is r equals 2. So basically I'm going to square both sides on this one. I get r squared equals 4. Therefore I have x squared plus y squared equals 4. And if you want to know what that is, that's a circle with centers 0, 0, and r equal 2. And let's do another one. We have r equals 4. You square both sides. You get r squared equals 16. Or x squared plus y squared equals 16. And that's a circle with center 0, 0, and r equal 4. Okay, the next one's going to be, the next 2 or 3 are going to be kind of hard. So you have r equals 4 over 1 minus cosine of theta. Okay, for this one, what I'm going to do is cross multiply, and I get r minus r cosine of theta equals 4. I know r is the square root of x squared plus y squared, and I know r cosine of theta is x equals 4. So what I'm going to do on this one, and it's hard to know when to stop when you're just doing these, but that's why the videos, I'm going to go ahead and move the x over. So I'm going to get x squared plus y squared equals x plus 4. But you just have to do more of these to get it. And what I'm going to do is square both sides. I'm going to square both sides just to make this look a little nicer and get it in some form that we can recognize, because this is really hard to recognize. So when I square both sides, I get x squared plus y squared equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. Now, what happens here now is the x squares cancel. So you get y squared equals 8x plus 16. And when you factor, you get y squared equals 8 times x plus 2, which is a parabola that opens up to the right with the vertex of negative 2 comma 0 and so forth. But we've got it in a parabola standard form here. Okay, and the next one is the last one, and it's the longest, so let's do this one. We have r equals, it's very similar, 3 over 3 minus cosine of theta. Cross multiply and we get r, 3r. No, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to do it this way. R times 3 minus cosine of theta equals 3. And this is 3r minus r cosine of theta equals 3. So we have 3 square root of x squared plus y squared minus x equals 3. So again, what I'm going to do like I did before and move the x over. I'll try to save room on this. So move the x over, so you get 3 times the square root of x squared plus y squared equals x plus 3. Now I'm going to square both sides, and you're going to get 9 times x squared plus y squared equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now, I'm going to distribute here, and I get 9x squared plus 9y squared equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. All right? Now I'm going to move everything over to the left. So when I do that, I'm going to do this down here again. I'm going to get 8x squared plus minus, I'm going to put the x's together, 6x plus 9y squared minus 9 equals 0. I moved everything over, but I grouped my x's so I can complete the square. So what I'm going to do now is, this is interesting. I'm going to multiply everything through by 8. So it's going to help me later on complete the square here. So I'm going to multiply everything through by 8, and I'm going to get 64x squared minus 48x plus 72y squared minus 72 equals 0. And then what I'm going to do is factor out the 64, and when I do that, this is a different way than completing the square. I'm going to get x squared, and I'm going to divide 48 divided by 64, and you get 3/4. So you're going to get minus 3/4 x. Alright? Then I'm going to just put the 72y squared here, and I'm going to move the 72 over here. So that's a different way than completing the square. And now I do want to complete the square, so I have 64 times x squared minus 3x, 4th x, plus 9 over 64, plus 72 y squared equals 72. And the part we're adding is this part right here. So we need 64 times that, which is just going to be plus 9. All right? Now, when you take care of this, you're going to get 64 x minus what's 1/2 of 3/4, that's 3/8 squared, plus 72y squared equals 81. And that's how you would do that one. Okay. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.